Evening Budget Committee. We welcome you to the 10/16/2024 meeting. I will note for anyone, we have our member Jerry Henry, at-large member from Langdon, with us tonight. Some people were unaware of him. We'll start off on our agenda with approval of minutes from September 11th, 2024. Have a motion.
Yeah, so if there's review and approve, because we just have to look at them first. We haven't reviewed them. We haven't had the opportunity.
Your secretary sucks.
She doesn't suck. She was preoccupied, and so there's lots of things going on, so it's gonna take her on.
Excuses for.
So we just wanna take a couple minutes to look at them to make sure there's nothing we need to change, and then we can.
I don't even know where I put them, but oh yeah, there they are. A lot of it's review. We're gonna be able to scratch stuff off for the next one.
Yeah.
Let's see.
16.
But.
Oh, yeah.
So the budget meeting for in the September minutes says it's been moved to November 17th. Is that correct?
That is
All
correct.
right, because then the agenda has its
Yes,
meeting.
I saw that.
Okay, so it is the 17th, right? Just to
It is,
confirm?
yeah.
Okay.
Amanda was so excited about the 16th, she put it down for us.
Yeah, what's so good about the 16th?
We're all the bells on.
Your priority.
Why is so much stuff accomplished? We scheduled the meeting this same day. That's fun.
That was funny, I love it.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Connell, seconded by Michael. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any
I
noes or abstentions?
Abstentions. I wasn't there.
Jerry and Steve noted as abstentions. Thank you.
Number one, check.
Moving on our agenda, follow up on action items from the prior meeting. Amanda, would you care to take us forward?
Yeah, sure. So, Michael, did you amend the calendar?
I did,
All
and I
right.
sent it to everyone, including Misty.
All right, and we're gonna move the 11/16 meeting to 11/17. Okay,
Yes, that's in there.
even though there's a typo on the agenda. And the December 7th meeting will be held in the community room in Charlestown. Okay, so nothing else to really discuss there. Anybody have any-
The 11/17 meeting is at 1 PM,
Right.
Yes.
just so everybody knows that.
All right, Chris, do you want to talk about 2.2?
Yes, so 2.2 is this the guidelines that we were working on, and we're hopeful to get through it tonight and have a motion and accept it and move forward. You'll see some of the changes that were made are underlined, and in this case also red. So just again, there's the objective. We talked about that. We're good with that. Committee authority. You'll see there's a change. I just put the RSA in. member, there's a slight change. It used to be roles and responsibilities. Well, if you actually go into every RSA in the world, they separate all that out. So I just did the same thing to follow what the RSAs typically do. They use the word duties and, all different other kinds of words, but here committee members' responsibilities are basic responsibilities. And then committee member roles. So if you read through some of the red, you'll see that I took the time to cite those things that are important from the RSAs for quick review for anybody in the future or currently where those citations come from. You'll see under members' roles, there's a difference. 195 says, after appointment and election of budget committee shall promptly organize and choose a chairperson, vice chair, and secretary. Well, in RSA 32, they really only say select a chair. That's under the chair, and then they say committee may elect other officers as it sees fit. But so I had to at least include both. So there's a slight difference, but yet it's covered either way. And then moving down into the members' roles, you'll see here where the chair, there are a few things in the chair. The chairs for future members. It didn't dawn on me at the time when I was appointed that the chair has to be an at-large member.
Oh, really?
Can't be. I read everything again over the last couple of weeks. Has to be an at-large member, period. And there are the two citations that point to that. And then some of these things are what we've talked about. They don't come from RSAs, but it's what we think and how our chair of our committee should have roles, responsibilities. Same as vice chair, the citation. I think there is one big thing. If you go through this, you'll see there was a bullet I added, and everybody's going to either have to agree or not. It's the shall not conduct straw polling or elicit opinions from its members with regard to any budgetary subject or motion outside of a committee meeting. We're just trying to stave off any things that don't seem appropriate. So that was it. Other than over to communications really is the next, the biggest section of where the red is. Go ahead.
So that's an interesting statement
Yes,
because I'm considered a member. Oh, so that's for the vice chair. Okay. Cause I'm a member of the school board as well, that I may share an opinion there. But it doesn't matter as long as it's not being elicited by a vice chair.
no,
Well, it's for
basically,
everybody?
it is.
Okay.
I got it for everybody, even
Okay.
members.
Okay,
Okay, so this is the backdoor policy.
well, I get it,
That we
but
don't want.
I would be in another meeting
Sure.
discussing my opinion.
Right.
So I don't know how that,
I think it applies to me as well, because I may solicit the opinion of my other two
Correct.
select board members.
so I would just, before we give that an amen, want to know what caveat should maybe be listed for members who are serving on multiple boards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is, I think,
No,
no.
this is not anything like that.
No, it's not.
This is shall not conduct a straw poll or elicit an opinion from its members, from the budget committee.
Right.
You
Okay.
can elicit opinions from other boards all you want.
But if you're, no, but I think what.
But if
Jim is
I
saying is
share
just do
my
it.
That's
opinion,
fine
as
too.
long as
That's
it's
just
not with
something-
you people.
Well, but I think what Jamie's also saying though is that if she is eliciting the opinion about budgetary concerns, but from the perspective of a school board member, to us, that is something,
I'm just curious, I
Right,
just wanna
exactly.
be sure that it can't be, and I understand what you guys are saying,
Hold it.
but I wanna be sure that it's very clear,
So I'll make it clear here.
so that it can't be
You could say-
misconstrued by somebody outside
I'll use the
of
word
us.
budget committee.
Okay,
Okay, this is all about budget committee.
yeah,
Right,
no, I
okay.
get that, but we sit in multiple roles.
right, and I think that, Chris, instead of saying from its members, I think that you could clarify that to budget committee, but I
Yeah.
also think that you could add something too that says shall not conduct straw polling or elicit opinion while acting. I don't know, something about while acting as vice
Official
chair.
capacity.
Well,
In the
well,
capacity
yes.
of vice chair, in the capacity of a budget committee member, in the capacity of the chair. And it has to be very clear, like, so like, I don't belong, I'm not on the select board, I'm not, you know, on the school board. If I'm calling, you know, or sending an email to you guys to say, hey, what do you guys think about, I don't know, how many widgets we're buying with XYZ dollars? And it's a bad example because we could do that in an email and it's fine because it's.
Well, you can't do it in an email, because it's considered a
Right.
meeting if
Correct.
everybody
Right, it would
answers.
violate.
Right.
the
Yep.
meeting
It
law.
Which is
violates
in the
open
email
meeting law.
section.
You can send an email and blind CC everybody information, data, and say, do not respond to this, it's for data purposes only, and that's okay. But the minute you have a back and forth, that's a meeting.
So let's just read it one last time. I don't think we've read it through. I think it's clear. You guys don't, so that's an issue. Shall not conduct straw polling or elicit opinion from its members with regard to any budgetary subject or motion outside of a committee meeting.
So change it to budget committee members.
Okay,
Yeah,
you got it.
that would work.
From its budgetary committee members. There we go. Done.
Period.
Changed.
Capitalized motion.
Motion capitalized, ma'am.
And I think it's overkill putting it under every single one.
It
but
is,
I
but
get it.
I didn't want anybody to question it. in the
Right, but as
future.
if you're a officer, you're a member, right?
This is true.
Okay.
I could just have left it in membership, you're right, but I wanted to make sure everybody was covered.
Got it.
But if you want me to strike it from the other ones, I will,
I don't care.
and then I'll send it to.
I would prefer you leave it.
Okay,
Yeah,
It's fine,
just to
yeah.
be clear.
Just to be clear that, like Jamie and I have said, we serve on different boards. Often solicit advice from those other board members.
I'm gonna have conversations outside of here,
Yeah.
but I'll be
What?
sure that I don't have them with you.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Gabe,
Good.
I have a
Gabe,
question
hold on.
about.
Gabe has a
still
question.
go ahead, Bo.
Hey, Gabe had a question first.
Michael has the floor.
Thank you. I just wanna know what is, and I'm for this, but what is it you're trying to prevent?
What,
Electioneering.
essentially, that's it in a nutshell, trying to figure out.
Sway people behind the scenes to vote with you.
Those types of things. And
Happens all the
conversations we
time.
really shouldn't be having without our members present. Because we like to hear what everybody has to
So
say.
that I understand. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And probably I'll be the one to run the worst risk of that, just because I'm on the school board
Right.
and I speak in different,
Mhm.
right? So,
Gotta move the hat.
yeah, whatever. I could be a resident too.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I know.
Okay,
I got Gabe.
oh, sorry, Gabe.
So if you would, please read it as rewritten.
Sure.
And then we'll move on.
Excellent, I think that's a great. Shall not conduct straw polling or elicit opinion from budgetary committee members with regard to any budgetary subject or motion, capitalized, outside of a committee meeting. I could say budget committee meeting, to be
Please.
even clearer.
Yeah, let's do that.
And instead of budgetary committee,
Just budget.
Budget.
budget committee would be more precise.
There you go. Should I read it one last time?
Just please.
Shall not conduct straw polling or elicit opinion from budget committee with regard to any budgetary subject or motion outside of a budget committee meeting.
You mean, first line is opinion from budget committee members.
Right, yeah, you just skipped a word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jerry?
I just have one comment. Can we change, kind of generalize the whole, thing, budgetary subject or motion to include within its scope, the budget committee scope, instead of that.
Can you read it how you envision it?
Okay, sure. Where is it?
Any one of the red ones?
Yeah, shall not conduct straw polling or elicit opinion from budget committee members with regard to any, subject within its scope outside a budget committee meeting. And then it just doesn't
You're
limit
trying-
it
what
to,
you're trying to do.
not limit, kind of, generalize it. So anything that we could discuss here in an open forum, we wouldn't be able to discuss it with any member outside the meeting, not just,
My first thought is that scope is a relative term.
Yeah. I think the broader you make it, the more you set yourself up for being sued.
Yeah.
and
That's just my initial, just my initial reaction, not that I don't disagree with you. Maybe if we just added to any budgetary subject within its scope. Although, like you said, Gabe, it's broad, right? It's
Because at
subjective.
this time,
It's subjective.
this committee is not going to discuss tonight the Walpole issue. It is not within our scope at this
That's
time.
true.
Right.
But if someone were to start going behind the scenes one-on-one, at what point does it become within our scope? Or
Right.
scope itself is a
Well, which
relative
is
term.
relative to what we're concerned about in our other roles.
Right.
and that's where I'm going, is if
Because I'm a
something,
resident.
if something comes
And
up
I'm a
that
resident.
we haven't defined in here, that we haven't, we haven't defined, but then somebody talks about it, then, we're gonna have to change this,
Well, it's not just talking about it, it's
Yeah.
about, this is more about,
It's electioneering.
right,
It's formulating an opinion.
and it's, we can talk about it, but you can't have the meeting before the meeting.
Why can't
Right.
you just reference electioneering
Sure.
and then put the RSA in? Because that's what you're talking about, really. And I have the RSA somewhere because we got to play with that a year ago.
So we could change it to, shall not, do you conduct electioneering or do you participate in electioneering?
Let's move
As-
on from that. Can we move on from this bullet and
Yeah.
then come back to it?
Sure.
All set with that, Colin?
Sure.
We will come back to it.
Moving on to the next, augmentations. In red, this was the communication piece. So in here, you'll find, RSA 91, as was expressed. But the biggest thing is, who we're gonna communicate with. And then we get into RSA 91, we talked about that, that's the right to know law. I did quote in the demand, openness, and conduct, that comes right out of RSA 91A1. Is essential to a democratic society. And then down into the email, here are the 3 new bullets for email. It is, and its intent is transparency. And basically what we should, I say here, emails shall not discuss motions or elicit opinions, but use for general purposes, as we've all talked about numerous times. Just kind of reiterating what we've all said, as submitting meeting agendas, schedules, notifications, and disseminating pertinent budgetary information. We all know that to be true, right?
I think it's good. The only thing I would add is
Sure.
that all email correspondence should be sent through our SAU email addresses.
Is it should or shall?
Shall, yeah.
So why don't we just adjust the first one? Budget committee emails shall be shared with all committee members
Through. Or via,
utilizing,
okay.
whatever you want, pick a verb, utilizing formal district email.
And I'll just ask the question, Jamie, because I don't know
Yeah.
the answer.
I mean,
Those SAU emails, they're captured by the SAU and saved by the SAU?
Mhm.
per their policy, which I believe is 30 days. Right?
I don't know.
I think the data
I just-
governance policy
The
here is
reason I
30
asked that
days.
question recently,
Right to know?
no, it was interesting. It was a decision made by the planning board that the applicant objected to, that we thought would go to court. And within 24 hours, we got a letter from their attorney that said, please capture and hold all electronic correspondence for the duration of this suit, or
Right.
this potential suit.
So that, and I think SAU60
Right,
here, I think the policy is they purge every 30 days.
okay,
Specifically because of right to know law, because if you don't purge, if it's not listed and you don't purge on a regular basis, once you have a right to know or a lawsuit, it goes back to the beginning of time,
yeah, right.
right? And
You
it's
can't
labor
get knocked
intensive.
for following your own policy.
Policy, right,
Right.
okay, that's good.
So I think if there's something that you want
Preserved,
preserved, you need to pull it down into a folder.
Right.
Print it.
right,
We can double check that. I think it's 30. I'm not positive. I signed the thing. I think it was 30.
close enough.
All set on that one?
I think so.
Yeah, and the rest of it is,
The other, where it says emails amongst the committee are subject to,
right to know laws.
I would just pay New Hampshire right to know laws.
That's a RSA 91A.
Or whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
just to make it clear.
Capitalize right, I know. You're
Mm.
referencing them.
We're gonna have to come back to that other bullet,
Okay.
okay? Because there is and I think it's in the big budget book thing that I sent y'all. Or I sent maybe to you to have posted in our little shared folder.
Yep.
We got a copy, but that's further down. I think it's referenced in there. Okay, so I'll find it and we'll bring it back. Is that all right?
Good.
Because we're gonna bring it back anyway, right, with the changes?
Yeah, and I think what we can do, because we have access to, this would you take, we have access to the, drive now. And I have been adding things from this year to the drive. I also, when you go into the drive, you'll see, calendar years or school, not calendar years, school years, right? So this is 24, 25. So there's subfolders, so I've been trying to organize our stuff for, by year that we requested it. We can put this on the drive with, I think we can vote to approve all of the changes except for that, the one about, electioneering, right? So for the next, we can put it all on there and leave this in the red. And then when we come back, we can just change that language and then it, because it's 97% done. So,
Well,
yeah, go
can I
ahead.
make a recommendation, so we might be approved this with changes right now? Or no?
But that's, the point is that Jamie wants to come back and look at the electioneering.
I was gonna add it right now.
I
I
wanna
gotta,
give you.
I
the
got a
proper
wordsmithing.
wording.
She's
Okay.
not yet.
oh, well, I was just gonna say, just so we can. Shall not conduct straw polling, elicit opinion. Oh, I had it. Or. Electioneering. No, I gotta take a step. I had it and then I lost it. Sorry, my brain, I didn't write down what I wrote. Okay, we'll have to move on.
Are we all in agreement except for this electioneering, what I'm calling the electioneering, bullet?
There was something
Everybody-
else, Jamie, that you wanted to come back to?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Okay, if we may have a show of hands, who would approve this
Yes, with,
with the corrections to be made on electioneering?
mhm.
Contingent upon that, who can accept this at this time, and we'll move on.
Are you taking a straw poll?
Straw poll.
In a meeting, it's okay.
Okay,
I make a motion to accept it as amended,
As amended, meaning,
because we made other little changes in the document that we have before us.
it is not fully amended.
No, so let's bring it back.
Okay,
right back.
very good, it's
I
easier.
mean, we're all good with it. It should be formal and done. Because we want to vote on it as a whole document.
Clean.
Yeah.
Clean package, got it.
Sorry, Chris.
Always
Good
easy.
work, Chris. Sorry.
Yep, no, it's a lot of work, for sure.
Okay, moving on to 2.2A. Jamie, articles of agreement and method overview,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and the copy of, budget forms, overview pages for dates and purpose.
Where are you? Am I on the right one? Hold on. So do we don't?
No, so we're at 2.2.
Oh, I'm looking at meeting minutes. Hold on, sorry. That's okay. Jesus. Um, Are you on 2.3?
I'm at 2.2A.
Oh, up there. Okay, got it. Sorry. All right, so I sent you an email of this. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen. I just sent you an email, but I will,
If I may, Jamie,
yes.
just as a point for the record, that the straw poll was not unanimous. Thank you. Also,
So, what do we wanna do? What is it listed first? Adequacy or
Articles of
Okay.
agreement, yeah.
So, I'm gonna pull it up. Right, so I've sent these off to you in your email. I think I did, or maybe I sent it to myself and I have to disseminate it to the rest of you.
You can do that. You can also just put it up in the,
Okay, all right, so anyway, I've emailed it somewhere. I think I emailed it from my SAU70 to my SAU60 and maybe didn't get it the next step. Anyway, this is your articles of agreement, between the towns. And so nested within the articles of agreement are all of the different methods that we discussed that become part of the 12 budgets that make up the one big budget, right? So when we look at the budget and look at the information for everybody, just as a review and the general populace, I'll try to keep it quick. There are 6 mini budgets that represent the different towns and the high school. Okay, so the towns have direct K-8 or K-4 or K to whatever budgets, and then the high school has its own budget. And then there are 6 other budgets that are methods. And so within the articles of agreement are your methods. And so method 1 is a predetermined percentage breakdown. It does not change from year to year based on data, okay? And it was set and determined when the articles of agreement were formed. So right now, method 1 drives back down into 3/9 of it go to high school, 481st go to Ackworth, 1081st go to Alsted, 2/9 go to Charlestown, 481st go to Langdon, 2/9 go to Walpole. Please do not ask me why it was done that way. I don't know, okay? I wasn't there. I'm sure I could probably find out, but at this point, I don't know. So then it tells you what expenses should fall under those methods. And so when you look at the budget builds, all of these different referenced items would be under method one, which in our budget strand is on the end, it's 001 for method one, okay? And so it's all of these items. And it's basically, I believe, what we call, let me just remember, because it's been a while. These are, I think these are mostly SAU or shared services. And then method two are co-curriculars and shared items, and those are a more simple method. This is all predetermined method and doesn't change as well. 1/9 Alcorth, 1/9 Alsay, 1/3 Charlestown, 1/9 Langdon, and 1/3 Walpole. And so this is basically other shared folks who do different learning opportunities that go around the district. It's also has some information technology services, equipment and telephone expenses, stuff like that. Method three is building replacement cost. This method does change, and it changes based on the percentage of the whole for the value of the buildings themselves, or the buildings within that district's location. Okay, so you can see high school, this is its own section of the method. And then it has the buildings in Ackworth, buildings in Alstead, buildings in Charlestown, buildings in Langdon, buildings in Walpole. And the expenses are shown below, and this is most of the maintenance costs that are shared. If they're not direct to the building, they would be in this method. Method four is for transportation, and that is a method that also changes every year. And it changes it doesn't change a lot usually, because the amount of children are relative to how many buses you run, and the areas in which they live don't really change the concentrations. So it's a bus fleet distribution, and there's a formula that goes along with it. It includes hours of labor as well as number of buses. And it breaks down the shared gas costs, the shared insurance costs, the shared, anything that can't be distinctly, tied back to one definite location. So you'll see all the different expenses that are included in there. And then method five, that's technology. And this method's percentages changes based on percentage of the whole for number of devices within each location. So it's by computer percentage of distribution or device distribution. And then it shows all of the different pieces. It's basically most all of your technology. This is a very small list, but it actually includes almost all of it. And then method six is, I think, special ed, yeah. Method six is special ed and special ed related services. So method one is SAU, known as SAU. I just have to refresh my memory, it's been a little while. Method six does also change based on average daily membership. And so it's 1/3 to the high school and then the balance by ADM. And the ADM is on a lag, because you don't find out your average daily membership until the year after, right? It's a complete year's worth of data. So that number runs on a 1-year lag, whereas some of the other methods run on an actual. Yeah, and it says down here, and that's your ADM, there's ADMA and ADMR. So there's ADMA, which is average daily membership by attendance, Okay, it means butts and seats. That's how you get 0.2 of a kid. I don't know, but they do. Because you can't cut a kid in half, so, but it's by how many days they attend in a year. And then ADMR is average daily membership by residents. It's the town in which they reside in, and they're used for different reasons. I believe this is ADMA. And then the high school, it tells you in here about, how they're apportioned and, you know, what goes on. Then intertown transfers, sometimes there are students, for whatever reason, we don't have a lot anymore, I don't think. It used to happen between Alsted and Walpole a lot with the kids on the ridge. Sometimes, well, actually, no, it happened last year because, this year, I can't remember. Because we had so few of students in one class, I think they came down and went to Alsted. So there would have been an intertown transfer. That is a tuition rate that's based just solely on the actual K-8 budget itself. So when you look at the apportionment formula pages, you'll see a tuition number way up on the top. And that's what that is. It's an intertown transfer. It takes into consideration that all the towns already pay all this other stuff. They all pay the methods. You don't get charged for the method twice, right? You all pay for the other pieces. You don't get charged for that twice. It only looks at the direct costs for the location of where the student might go. And then capital costs, they're apportioned back to the town. Building aid, there hasn't been any in a million years, but when there was building aid, they would use the same formula that would be in effect for capital expenditures at that point in time. There was a fiscal year where we had this going on and it was only for that 1 year. That's just still in there. It probably should be cleaned up. General fund year-end surplus tells you, you know, how it goes back, right?
Okay, so that's Article 7.
And that is by vote, right? It's by a vote of a warrant article.
Jamie,
Yeah.
Steve, do you have a question?
Are you
So-
reading?
I understand that article, that 7,
Oh, 7, year-end surplus.
right?
Yeah.
To mean that any surplus at the end of a year is to be voted on by the public to come back to the taxes,
Yeah, unless voted out. to
unless
something
voted
else.
out
Yeah.
through capital.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so this year's, or last year's, right?
Mhm.
Last year's surplus has to be voted to be returned to the voters.
Well, it would have been voted. It goes on a 1-year lag, right?
Well, last year's surplus, right, last fiscal year's.
Will
Surplus.
show up this year other than what we voted out.
Right.
Yeah.
So other than the capital that we vote from the surplus.
Right, yeah.
So I see this never happening.
Oh, it does. It shows up on when they do the tax form that they file with the DRA.
Right, so noticed in the school board minutes
Mhm.
that Lori's saying, presented an idea of paying off leases with the
Yeah.
surplus.
We
So-
spoke about that at our last meeting. I
Right,
brought the documents.
okay, yeah, I saw it, I read it.
Yeah.
So, but that's against this though.
That is allowed to be done by a school board prior to the end of a fiscal year at 6:30. It
How does
doesn't-
it tie to this? I guess not
It-
challenging you, but.
No, I'm just explaining
Yeah.
it because believe me, we've been asked that question before.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So it doesn't become year-end surplus until after the last day of the fiscal year.
Got it.
So it's not technically year-end surplus till the year-end closes,
Oh, I understand. I
okay?
understand what you're saying.
So the
Okay.
school board,
Okay,
if you already have,
if you know the surplus is gonna happen before.
and you
year
have,
end,
and you have quotes already in place or documents in place to execute.
Yeah,
You know, like the 3 things that were voted, it was, I went back and actually pulled this stuff out. It was, 1 set of 8 detectors, I believe, here at the high school, and then 2 buses that we were already signing lease agreements on. So they had already been commissioned. And so, let me just read this motion. Yeah, so we motioned to do that out of some of that surplus before it became,
Before it became
Yeah.
surplus.
right, out of available money.
Yeah, it's
So
not
we
really
gave
surplus,
her,
it's-
right,
it's unexpended funds at that point, and then at the end of the fiscal year, it becomes surplus.
correct. And then
Okay.
there was one other thing that she asked about at that point in time, but it was, I think, for Ackworth, and they had available funds still. So Lori, our BA, Lori Schmidt, doesn't make budgetary transfers because we don't have a budget transfer policy. And so she wouldn't transfer the funds to take care of that without the approval of the school board.
Yeah, okay, I understand now how it ties back.
Okay, all
That's
right.
good.
Is everybody else all set on that? Well,
Okay.
Jennifer, all set? Any questions?
So there's really, even unexpended funds can be used to cover items that were not approved previously, as long as it's done before June 30th.
As long as you've actually
Contracted.
contracted it prior to June 30th. You can't go, oh, I wanna put a swimming pool in, let's redirect, $500,000 and then go out after June 30, or even really in the month of June, because the auditors will question it. And go commission that, right, and then move the funds. You have to have already had that on the horizon for the work to be done.
So when the board discusses, instead of continuing to lease, which is contracted, we're gonna buy,
No,
and that's even more
two
money.
different leases, two different,
That's two
that's two different. So we were looking to write a lease on those two school buses, right, that we had already commissioned to have built, takes a while to get them, right? And so we were gonna sign documents to do a lease purchase, but instead we nixed the lease purchase and decided to pay cash, so we would save the monies that we would pay in interest costs.
Using the surplus.
Correct, using some of the,
Using
yeah.
Unexpended
yes,
funds.
yes, we redirected unexpended funds, for that purpose.
And they record that as redirected funds
It's
from,
shown as a budget transfer,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
it will show in budget transfers.
Thank you.
Then certification, this is funny, this will have to be changed because the state of New Hampshire no longer certifies business administrators effective this past year. They've decided they don't wanna play with us anymore.
Jamie, who owns the articles of agreement? The school board owns the articles of agreement?
I don't
So
know.
who's responsible for updating the articles of agreement?
The school board, yeah, well, the school board with the vote of the public.
Right.
The residents of all the towns of the cooperative
Okay, yeah.
own these articles.
Got it.
Yeah. So the school board can't change any articles without taking the change for the article to a warrant.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a vote. And depending on what you're changing, I think it depends on what the percentage of the vote has to be.
Got it. Makes sense.
And then there's an annual review process, to look at the methods that change and or any, new line items to the budget to make sure they're putting the proper locations. This is something that had occurred, I don't remember, I have no idea when, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, who knows, okay? There was one that had come up, I think the first year we were seated as a budget committee. A discussion had come up about a couple of items. And so this was discussed again, so people are aware that things should not be put in certain places.
On that thing there, Jamie, item 3.
Yeah.
Where is there a record of that? If I wanted to go back 5
Apportionment
years,
formula page.
and that's in the articles of agreement?
It's in the annual reports.
Okay, so the percentages that are shown on all those methods, 3 to 6, may not be true percentages because they could have been adjusted.
Well, no, you adjust them every year.
Right, but in the articles of agreement, if you go back to those methods.
Right, those will have been adjusted
Those
every
would,
year.
so they may not be accurate.
They're not accurate within the articles. They were accurate
At the time it
point
was
the-
written.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. sorry.
All right.
I understand what you're asking now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but the data for that resides on the apportionment pages. There's a little chart and it will show everybody's town and then it shows method 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And it shows all the percentages.
So-
And we went over those last year in our very lengthy annual report budgetary thing.
Okay,
That's why it's on page 48, not 45 anymore, because they got adjusted.
So,
Jamie,
yes,
also Steve?
yeah, I'm set. I
okay.
just wanted to get clarification.
Jerry?
Yeah,
So then any changes to those percentages,
yeah,
do they have to be done by 2/3?
no,
No.
no.
And is there a provision in that that says changes to the percentages can be done by the school board?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
back,
And
It's
how
the-
the methods are calculated.
it's the directive.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's the directive, Jerry, about,
Okay.
the method. Think about it, someone.
So then if the district wanted to add, say, like a director of widgets,
Yeah.
they would have to,
So
you know,
the administration
Yeah.
would have a discussion with the school board on where the proper placement of that expenditure would be.
so if it went in method 1, would you need a 2/3 vote from the
No,
public? No?
no,
Okay.
that would be considered, just general administration,
Okay.
based on the guidelines of the articles.
So let's use an example of
Yeah.
speech and language pathology, which
Yeah.
did not exist when these were created.
Right.
So speech and language pathology was put in somewhere into the methods. And you're saying that was by the school board's decision?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not, it wasn't a popular decision and it was, well discussed.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be listed in that method
Correct.
1 to be
Right.
included, okay?
Right,
I thought
because-
maybe those were the only ones you
No.
could have,
Because
and you
this
couldn't have
was,
any more unless you
this
had
was,
2/3 vote.
because this was amended in 1987.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point, to your point, maybe at some point we should do a refresh, right? Of the different pieces of where they are. Because, right, historically, where is the historical data for anything that's been added? And that was one of the questions that had come up. If you haven't been here, you don't know, so you do the best that.
At one point, I tried to map the budget to those line items there.
Oh,
That was like, forget it.
there's a lot of.
It didn't work.
There's a way to do it, but yeah, there is a way to do it.
Yeah.
And if you still wanna try it, we can chat afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then these are the balance of the articles here. This is about when it was formed, the indebtedness of the pre-existing districts. Right now, that doesn't, there are no pre-existing indebtedness. It was already cured because we were formed in 64. So anything that was on the books that belonged to any of the towns for debt on any of the buildings, it just said the district, took that on as its own debt, but it was placed in the appropriate locations. State foundation aid, that's talking about adequacy aid, which you're gonna roll on to here really quickly. The articles of agreement may be amended by 2/3 vote, so it's listed there. On how you do it, okay, to amend these. And then these are, operating responsibilities. So it was 1966, we opened the doors as the cooperative. Says that we will provide transportation for grades 1 through 12. This is an article that requires us to in the state of New Hampshire, just so you know, you're only required to transport 1st through 8th. They might have added K recently, no problem. Tells you how you can use your school buildings, talks about the disposal of the Holden and Stucco Elementary Schools. Because we built another facility in Charlestown, talks about the kids from North Walpole that were in Bellows Falls when we became a cooperative, that they could complete their education there. North Walpole was an independent K-8, and all of their high schoolers went and graduated from Bellows Falls prior to the Fall Mountain District. Talks about the school buses and the pre-existing districts. Talks about the, equipment facility and the elementary facility. And the high school, building the high school, about the committee and what the makeup of the committee was. And then these are newer ones. It was amended in March of '07, for, capital expenditures and how that would be handled. It was amended again. And so these are the amendments in 1987, in 76, in '02, in '02, and in '07. '07 was I believe, our last amendment.
What was the one to do with, must maintain the Farwell School and?
So that one, I probably don't have it on my copy, so I'll get that one on, because that would have been the last amendment.
Was that
Yes,
Sarah
2 years
Porter
ago.
as well,
Um,
specifically, or just the Charleston?
I think it was just north, it was taking the norths out. So, right, there was another amendment to take I think it took the norths, because it used to list North Walpole and North Charlestown.
Okay, hold on, Jim.
Yeah,
So Jamie,
yeah.
this document isn't the latest version, right?
No, because we had a vote about, Charlestown.
Right, so if.
Yeah.
I guess the question I'm gonna ask, maybe not for this committee, but whose responsibility is to produce a new article of agreement document and post it on the website so that people can see it?
The administration,
Okay,
the administration,
all right.
yeah, would be probably the secretary of the school
Like
board.
Misty.
Yeah.
Would have to.
Yeah, so I'll talk to her and I may not have the most up to date.
I don't know either. I was gonna look on the website. and
This
see.
this was in my archival documents
Yeah.
to share tonight.
Yeah,
So, I'm looking at it thinking that I'm missing two, but, just because I believe I did one while I was there. So I think there's one that amended this number 18, and it was a clarification on it, so I'll get
it's still
the,
pretty good that we went from 2007 to
yeah.
whatever,
66,
2023
yeah.
without
Oh, yeah, not
making
many.
changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stability is good.
So that's your articles, and then here's your adequacy aid.
Before we move
Yeah.
on, please. If you would all take a note, there is an upcoming meeting, October 26th. Saturday, October 26th, the school board is discussing the articles of agreement from 8 AM till noon.
Is that in this location?
I believe it's at central office. We will check and
I think so.
we will send out an email
Yeah.
before that date to the committee.
I thought I'd missed it, because I thought it was September 26th, but so I was happy that I hadn't.
We'll get the details on that, Jennifer, and get them to you. Let me solicit the committee whether it's necessary to warn a meeting of the budget committee if a majority of our membership were to show up. Jerry?
I think it's only if we discuss the articles of agreement meeting as committee members. I think if we show up all as residents, we wouldn't have to warn it.
Steve?
It wouldn't hurt.
You can just say articles of budget committee members will be present.
Well, no, because then we'd have to still warn the meeting.
But that would be warning, wouldn't it?
No, because warning,
You have to warn it as a specific meeting.
right, you have to put it, you're not wrong, Jennifer, but I think where I'm getting caught up is there's specific language I think we have to use, that Misty uses, so that,
For a joint meeting, you mean?
to warn the meeting.
To clarify, it will not be a joint meeting.
Okay.
There will be no discussion outside of the school board membership, so we would not be discussing,
Yeah, I think
But-
you're right, you probably wouldn't have to warn it.
wouldn't have to, just like the opinion of the committee, and I'll do whatever we need.
What do you think, Steve? I don't think we have to warn it if you're just
I don't think
attending
so
as
under that,
residents.
because we'll be attending as residents, not as the budget committee, so it doesn't
Right.
matter.
And it's not an interactive,
Right, we're not participating in
Correct.
the
We have no
meeting.
authority.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have a vote,
Right.
we don't have a.
So-
Right.
The interesting thing is that I guess there's been meetings held to formulate this meeting. And I haven't seen any minutes posted from any other meeting about the Articles of Agreement. So I'm guessing there was a committee formed to look at the Articles of Agreement
From the school board?
from the school board?
No, we're
No.
meeting as a whole school board.
Okay, so this is the first time they're talking
Correct.
about it. Okay.
Paul, any opinion?
I won't be attending.
Well, but we can't.
All my
Together.
opinion is it shouldn't, you shouldn't be formalized. We're citizens in a meeting where you can't even say anything. So,
So it's not a meeting.
right.
But we can't talk together in a group of 3 or 4, I mean, there's some rule about we can't,
Right, no, it can't be a majority of
Congregate.
us. Don't, yeah, so you can't talk about the budget committee. You run the risk if you decide to be in a meeting, in a parking lot, in a grocery store, in the library, or wherever you are, and there is a majority of us there. How many are in here? 8? So there's 5 of us. Then you run the risk of holding a meeting. So that's, you give the impression that you're holding a meeting, even if you're talking about how wonderful the Miami Dolphins are. Okay, like you
Oh, thank you.
always run the risk, so don't hang out together. I like you all, but stay away from me.
Understood. All set, Michael? Anything to add?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all. Jennifer?
can I just make a comment? The articles of agreement that's posted on the website.
Are new.
Are new, they include, amended
Good girl,
March
Misty, right?
2007. And then 2023,
Yeah, that would be the
Yeah.
last one.
well, there are 2 that were, I
Mhm.
guess, amended then.
Okay, good. We're all set on this?
I had one question about talking about the school valuation or replacement costs. Are the buildings, depreciated according to,
No, because we don't pay taxes. We don't pay corporate income tax, so we don't carry depreciation.
okay,
But I should back up. On the audited documents where they do consolidated balance sheets, they depreciate assets. So that it'll show on the audit reports. But we don't personally depreciate assets for those method purposes. It's based on valuations for insurance purposes.
how often do they
Every
evaluate
2
the
years
the
usually,
replacement costs
usually every 2 years.
for all the buildings?
Yeah, but it does sometimes depend on when they can get there. I have seen it go 3. So. Mhm. So if they look like they've stayed the same, they might have because they haven't come back out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
Yep, this is your adequacy aid projection. I think this was one of the things you wanted to look at. And again, I'll post it for you, and sorry, it's a really long document, okay? Adequacy aid is figured, and I'll use what's my thing that's on here, maybe? Okay, nope, not on the Zoom. So the location of the town is the first section here, where this is everybody's listed, right here, okay? Then the next block of colors is called base adequacy aid. So you'll see your ADM, which is your average daily membership numbers listed next to that. That's the second column. Third column takes your average daily membership number times what the base adequacy aid is by New Hampshire, which is $4,182 per child, and then calculates that out and puts a number in this second column. The next set of colored columns is free and reduced aid. It takes how many students you have that have been listed as free and reduced students by some method of the National School Lunch Program. There's a bunch of different ones: Direct Cert, Medicaid Cert, SNAP, TAMP. There's a whole bunch of different ones. They can fill out a form, send it in. So that tells you what your ADM, average daily membership numbers are for FNR. okay, like Langdon has 18.81, okay? Times your differentiated aid, because they say kids who are, deprived of, economically deprived, it can take them more resources to learn, okay? So there's $2,346 per child that have been noted as free and reduced, eligible. And then the next set is special education aid, that's the green set of boxes. And it will take the ADM of anybody who has been, receiving special education services, okay, like cases. And so that you get $2,142 per student, okay, and that's in the green here. And so like Ackworth has 20, okay, so 20 times 2,000, and then they get 42,840, yep.
So those are additive. If you've got a person that's disadvantaged economically with an IEP, the state aid is 10,000 something, when you add those
Correct,
three
you
up.
put them all
Okay.
together. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yep, good, that's a good point. Thank you. So ELL is English Language Learner Aid. So, in 23-24, they, are showing 8.19, and then you get $816 for each ELL learner, which is in the pink. Remember, keep in mind, these ADM numbers run on a 1-year lag, okay? So the numbers you're looking at, let me think about this. Yeah, no, you're looking at 23-24 numbers that are this is the money we're gonna receive as we're going into 24-25. Home education aid, that's 4,182, we don't have any, okay? So total calculated cost of an adequate education for the population that you have in each one of the attendance areas, right? So Ackworth is 509,000, just over that. Alstead is just under $1 million. Charlestown is 3.55 million.
We win.
Langdon is 367,000. Walpole's just under 1.9 million. So then to that gets added statewide education property tax. It's called SWEPT. SWEPT is a tax rate that is set by the state, and it's based on equalized evaluation of the property in the town, okay? And so every single, your adequacy aid number is made up of all these pieces, right? So every single town has a SWEPT number. So when you get your tax bill, it'll have a SWEPT number, it'll have a direct number. Additional aid, so your equalized valuations are down here, and it shows you, this is an extraordinary grant. So equalized evaluation for, let me look, Ackworth is 164,192,000. So that's what they're saying property in Ackworth is valued at when they equalize it. It's probably not what you're gonna see on your town's warrant, but that's when it's equalized. So like Walpole's equalized evaluation is $752,388,208. Walpole has the highest, which is, has the highest equalized valuation.
What does that mean, equalized?
It means that they take the property values, and so that they can say, if you tax, so say I have a property in Walpole that is valued at $1,000, right? And say that same property, if you looked at it in Charlestown, was valued at $500, right? If you tax those two properties, they won't produce the same amount of revenue to spend for the children. So the state equalizes the property values using a special method, and please don't ask me because I don't remember without reading it through, but they equalize the property values so that every piece, every set of property will raise an equal amount of money per student,
Is this part of the Claremont decision?
I don't think so. It's part of how the state figures swept. Swept is based on equalized valuation.
All right.
It might be, it might have come out of the Claremont, I don't remember. I don't think so, but I don't know that for a fact. Good question. I don't know. We can find out. So the extraordinary grants are done down here. And it's a sliding scale grant. I'm not really familiar with this. They have equalized valuation for FNR, and then they have aid for FNR for average daily membership by residents. So we do get some money off of that grant. Walpole gets none, okay? Alstead, all the other 4 towns get money off of that grant. It's probably because as you look, our equalized valuation for Walpole is so much higher, right? You reach a certain threshold and you don't get money there. So the preliminary grant, so this is cost of adequacy, less swept, but plus extraordinary needs. So that's your 5th column in the bottom with the pink, tells us that, for money coming out in adequacy aid for ACWA, it will be about 402,000. Excuse me, Alstead would be 890,000 or almost 891. Then Charlestown would be 5.4 million. Langdon will be 336,000 and Walpole will be about just over $1 million. Then they have what they call a hold harmless grant. This is in the green, 3 blocks in the green. That was determined back in, it says 22, I thought it was before 22. That was done because they changed the formula. And when they changed the formula, many of the towns were gonna get negatively impacted by the change in the formula, okay? So they came up with what they call a hold harmless grant, because it wasn't your fault that they changed the formula, right? And so we do get money from the hold harmless grant. It's 104% of the November 2022 grant estimate. I don't know. Anyway, then they have a hold harmless 95% grant. We do not get any of that, okay? Because when they made the second change, in 23, we weren't losing any money. It was basically to smooth out the change until you got to the end where these were all gonna sunset, okay?
So Jamie, real
Yeah.
quick, this number here,
Yep,
the floor is 169,000, is 104% of this number.
469, 404 is, I'm sorry,
Is
say it
that
again.
100, is that the 104% of this, of the pink box, the preliminary grant?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then we don't get the 95. So the adequacy grant in the white, the very last like gray one next to the pink one on the bottom, the next to the last one, tells you the cumulative, to Jennifer's point, number.
Steve, do you have a question?
I'm just looking at the total, doesn't look right, but keep going, Jamie.
Yeah, so it gives you the cumulative number for cost of an adequate education minus swept plus extraordinary plus hold harmless. Okay, so it's 488, 180, then you go back up here to your top, to the last box on your top line, which is your swept.
Yeah.
Okay, which is 194, oh, I'm sorry, which is that's wild, that's a touchscreen thing. There we go.
Cool.
Okay. So the 194,090, whatever, added to the 488, 180 is the 682, 273. Because they show, yeah, that one plus that equals that. Because they keep swept separate from adequacy. Because adequacy aid is one set of numbers, even though it all goes together in the end. Swept is actually money we raise locally. The state says it's from them, but we raise it locally and keep it locally based on their rate, their equalized rate that they give us. But you have to report it separate on your DOE 25 at the end of the year. So it's kept separate in the calculation. Yeah.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Steve, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Jennifer, go ahead.
So that last number divided by the ADM is the per pupil cost.
Of aid we get from the state.
Okay.
It would be the if you wanna say that, but it's
So
not,
would it be local,
but it's not every kid. It's not every child producing that money, right? Because remember, here, with your FNR, your special ed, your ELL, your home, right? Those all are bump ups. They
right,
give you a base of 4,182.
right, but they've got the numbers for each and every
Yes, yeah,
one
yeah,
in that
yeah.
category, so that
Yes.
should add up to.
Yes, yep, yes, it should. That's assuming their spreadsheet is correct, because it's not mine, yep.
We get $1 billion in grant and adequacy aid a year? Is that what that says?
Not a billion.
Yeah, it says $1 billion.
Where are you?
Right in the last column, the pink.
No, the pink is for the whole state, honey.
Ah,
No,
okay.
some of the violence still, I enjoy it. All right.
I'm sorry.
Which does.
No, the lines up above.
The
State
state
totals.
totals. Okay, now it makes sense.
These are-
Now it makes sense, Jamie.
I wondered what you were saying. These are our numbers down here.
Yeah,
If I expanded that report, it would show you every single school district in the
Got it.
state.
that's
Okay.
good. Who generated this spreadsheet?
This is the New Hampshire, who's generated this piece?
Yeah,
I did that.
very good.
So you can look up any town in the whole state
Yeah,
or
no,
city or
This is a
whatever.
good presentation.
Yeah, so that's how you read how the money comes. Then anything we don't get there, we either raise through taxation or we have, carryover funds that go back against taxes, right?
So you're gonna tell me where the 6 million for Charlestown gets spent now?
No, that's not her job. Right
Can
now.
you tell me
this
that,
is-
how that works through the methods and, gets applied?
It just gets applied to all of them. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not, she's just explaining adequacy. She's not responsible for the numbers on here.
Well, no, it gets applied to all of it. It's married with the assessment, it gets applied.
Married to
right?
the methods.
I know. No, it's to all of them, even the direct.
Once you add it up,
Yeah.
revenue, it's revenue.
That's revenue.
Revenue for everyone.
That's revenue. Okay, so we went through adequacy aid.
That's my point.
I did not get to copy a budget form, sorry, we'll do that, it's getting kind of late, so I'll get that to you. And I have to say, 2.3, Steve and I are gonna pick a day today to go through our stuff, because we haven't done that. The other one you had on here with my name attached,
We did the budget book. We have that. It's on the drive.
okay, good. Yes, it's a great document, it's, like, if you have a second, it comes out from New Hampshire Municipal Association, they do a training on it. Probably you can attend as a budget committee member, they allow school board members, select board members, anybody. Lori went, Schmidt, and so they gave it to her electronically, and so I share it with the board. It's got a great glossary and appendix, so if there's something you wanna learn more about, it's really, it's in layman's terms, it's very easy to understand, it cites everything that you wanna know.
Pages, how many?
110.
I
But
was
it's
gonna
not,
say, if it's 10.
but it's not all, it's broken down,
Oh,
so
good.
a lot of it's towns but there's a whole section about schools,
Nice.
and you can learn more about your town or village and what goes on there. if you want. So,
2.2C, I think we're good. We are going to do the last, Jamie, you're gonna get the electioneering language over to
Yes.
Chris, so we can then
Yep.
vote on it and then put it on the drive.
Yep.
And then you guys are gonna do that next meeting,
Yeah, well, that's our goal.
and then,
I can do it. First week in November.
Okay, good.
so the latest, so you guys know, the latest, financial business administrator presentation, Jamie shared it with us. When I forwarded it to you guys right before the meeting.
And I printed it.
There was, you sent us another email too that I forwarded,
Let me,
which I have not put on the drive, but if it's
Oh.
appropriate, there was lots of vouchers on that email.
that's all public information. You can put it
So I'll
on.
put it on the drive.
It just shows what we, sorry, my thing's coming up. It shows what we paid out in vouchers and it's all public information. So.
All right, so I'll add the vouchers to the drive. All right, and then, you don't have the 4,000, the spreadsheet, right, you didn't get a new spreadsheet from Laura yet.
Not yet, no, 10/28, I spoke to her today. So, October 28, we should have all of the closed out information.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Or which document is that?
It would be the DOE 25, so we
Okay.
can look at, a couple of the questions y'all had about where did we end up? Where did all the expenditures go? And then she'll also send over the updated Excel spreadsheet so we can sort it again and take a look at it and see how it shook out.
I saw her note saying they asked for an extension, but I didn't see a
Yeah.
date that it was coming through. Okay.
just so you all know, this spreadsheet that I don't have a copy of it.
This one?
Yeah, no, this,
The big
the
one?
one with the yellow one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is on the drive. I printed out a copy so you guys can look at it. That is our outstanding requests tracker. It's on the drive, the stuff in yellow, we haven't either we have received answers to it and I just missed it, or we haven't received answers to those requests yet because we're waiting for, updated reports or something, but there are 7 requests that we've made, and there's at least something listed, I think, on each of them, so, we can. So I just printed out a hard copy so you guys could have it, but that is on the drive.
Oh, that's the other one. You wanna see
And,
the per pupil cost sheet? That's the other one I sent you.
sure,
That for last year.
It will be, yes, because it runs, a year in arrears. Because it's based on, data that we submit for the DOE 25. And so,
So I have a question, just to
Okay.
clarify. When we do a budget
mhm,
and we come up with a number, okay, or there's a total value to the budget. And we have a certain number of students projected. And then, of course, that number changes, and maybe that's why there's a year in arrears where we don't have the information for the current year. So if we have 500 students projected and we have a budget of $5 million or
Mhm.
something, we
Sure.
have, so many per student. If 50 people leave the school district,
mhm.
does that budget change at all, or is that where the surplus comes?
That's where the surplus would come from.
And so that can get spent
That would be, it has
as
to do,
long as it's before.
well, so it can be redirected by the school board, because the school board has the authority to transfer money between any budget lines, okay?
Mhm.
So yes, the school board has authority to do that. And it can be done for many different reasons, right? If it's not, right, if assuming that there aren't any needs anywhere, or that there is savings because of students not matriculating, then it would roll over as unfunded balance, unneeded balance, right? So it's balance surplus, and then it would go against the assessments.
So that would lower the taxes.
Correct, it lowers the assessments.
Okay, so then the next year when we file, we have the actual student count.
Mhm.
And those are the numbers that we use for the per pupil cost, that's a year in arrears. The per pupil costs that are published are always
There, well,
the
the,
adjusted year before.
no, it would be based on the actual numbers from the ending of the fiscal year. So I think I have 20, what's this? I have to think of what year we're in. I have 22-23s per pupil cost, because we're just doing 23-24 right now.
Right.
So the per pupil cost that the state shows us for 22-23 would be based on data that was submitted on DOE 25 for 22-23, and it would be also based on end of year filing for actual students, ADM. So they match. So the monies for match the kids.
So the one that's being submitted October 28th,
That's a DOE 25 for 23-24.
right,
And the end of year student count would have just been submitted. I think it was due, I don't know, September 3rd maybe, or something like that. So those submittals have been sent to the Department of Ed, but they don't scrub all of that and send out the reports on them until probably sometime in January or February.
so the per pupil cost is based on the budgeted, approved budget versus the
Based
actual
on
students.
actual expenditures and actual students. Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
And I was trying to pull this one up, but I can't, it won't, it's not loading. We're in spin hell. Okay, no, here we go. Just to give you an idea, and they make a couple of caveats on this for obvious reasons. And then I'll move on because it's enough data for one day, right? Why? Yes, it is. Okay, so you can go on the New Hampshire DOE website. What I did, you can pull this down as an Excel spreadsheet. This is high school, okay? I did elementary and high school. We don't have formal middle schools here. All of our middle schools are listed as elementaries, okay? We do not have formal middle schools filed with the state. So this is high school. So what I did was I took the Excel spreadsheet and I sorted it by highest cost, okay, per pupil cost that the state has here, which is Pittsburgh, and you understand why, because they're at the top of the world and there's nobody up there and there's like 40 kids, okay? And it's expensive to educate 40 kids in a school. So theirs is $35,740 a kid. So, and then I highlighted like some of the ones around us or some of the other cooperatives or regional schools because they're similar in structure to us. So like Kentucky Valley, which is Conval's at $25,286, Newport's at $23,009, Lebanon's at $22,915, Pemmy Baker, and then Fall Mountain, we're right here at $21,134. We are listed as 37th in ranking on per pupil cost for high school. And there are 73 high schools reporting. Okay, so we're kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Basically.
What was the average, the state average?
Yeah, state average is 19,917. Yeah, so we're a little above it. At about $1,000 above it.
Yeah.
So, and there's reasons for that, right? Usually in cities with larger populations, you have economies of scale. Some of these places that are reporting have multiple high schools, right? So they can move kids around, so their costs are less. So there's things like that, remoteness, pockets of poverty or economically disadvantaged youth, high ELL areas where you have a lot of foreign students moving in, that can all drive costs.
So the question I would ask is when tuition students come into the high school, what are we tuitioning them in as? What dollar value? We should be tuitioning them in at 21 something.
It depends on what's included in that number, because the standard practice in New Hampshire, many people have that thought process. That's not standard practice. Standard practice in New Hampshire is that they don't pay for transportation because you're not going to their house to pick them up. So you carve transportation out. They're not paying for your out-of-district special education needs, so you carve that out, right? So there are certain pieces, out-of-district special education needs are just for that one kid. So people tuitioning in, that's not their, so you take out certain
Yeah,
pieces.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and then you set your rate.
Yeah, I would think a question we should ask the administration is to give us that calculation.
Sure. I'm gonna hope that that's how they do it, because that's how we've done it for years. Although when I was here, we started a bidding war with Claremont, so. Because we purposely set it lower to fill the school.
The tuition being in,
Because some revenue is better than none if you have capacity and you don't have to hire more bodies.
what's the dollar value?
So anyway, I've sent those and we'll get them posted, okay? I did it for elementary. Keep in mind, please, on elementary, it's gonna look high to you. There's a couple of reasons for that. Our placement's gonna look high to you. The cost to educate in Langdon and Ackworth little baby elementary schools drives our rate higher, because we're all lumped in together. Okay?
So is there any way of course, we don't have we cover middle school to elementary.
Right.
Are there a lot of districts that do that or a lot of places that do that?
Yeah, take a look at the thing.
Okay.
There are not a lot of middle schools.
Okay,
There are
it
not a
would
lot
be
of,
broken out on that spreadsheet if there was a middle school.
we would be broken out, but we're not considered a middle school. Our middle schools are considered elementary.
Right, but we shouldn't match our cost to
We,
some school that doesn't have a middle school in it.
we could break ours out both ways. We could look at them
Yeah,
both
so,
ways.
because it's not apples to apples,
Right,
when people are comparing, a lot of people are comparing our costs to other towns' costs,
Correct.
but they may not be apples to
They're
apples.
not apples to apples, because we have two very small schools that are very expensive.
Yeah.
Jennifer?
So I looked at the spreadsheets and I pulled out some information,
Yeah,
and I'm looking at the totals now, preschool through 12.
yeah.
And which kind of gets rid of that anomaly with no middle school. But I'm looking at the,
If you sort it and just pull out everybody that has preschool through 12, because not all school districts have high school and not all school districts have preschool.
I'm only looking at Fall Mountain Regional and
Oh, yeah.
then the state average.
Yeah.
So I'm totally across that line.
Yeah.
And we've been consistently, like this, 22-23 is the latest data,
Mhm.
14% over the state average.
Yeah.
And before that, it was 12.6, 11.2, 17.2, 12.9, 14% higher than state average. Now, you explained some of that with, the transportation and being rural and so on, and I think that would make an argument for just having, the buses serve locally.
Well, you can't,
Well,
because your articles of agreement don't say that,
I
but
know, but
nor does the state of New Hampshire.
we have, the achievement certainly and the proficiency. I think when you talk about the adequate education, they have it as, our schools are maybe, if there are 4 levels and we're in the second level from the bottom.
I don't know, I haven't pulled our data.
Yeah, so, and that's from NEEP, I think.
Well, you can go on to the New Hampshire DOE website,
Oh,
pull the
yeah.
data for every single school.
That's right, but it's not that recent. And then there's a
would
lot
probably
missing
match
because people have dropped out, so I'm pulling that together as well.
Okay.
But for example, the NAEP proficiency for, grades 3 through 8, so, or 3 and 8, because that's when they test it. It's like 51% for reading and 43% for math. So then my question becomes, since there's no association, and you've probably seen those Cato graphs where achievement's flat since the 70s, I guess, and then the costs, even adjusted for inflation, are higher and higher. What are we,
I think your question is better served at the school board level.
So it just seems that the focus, the money, how much would it take to get people to all read at grade level? And I'm not sure that there's an answer for that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's,
Yeah, that's a great question for our administration and our curriculum folks, right? It is, and to look at our actual data that's recent where they've done, testing, because there's other tests that can be done that will show you, the pockets, and what you really want to do in order to answer that question is you pick a grade that's coming up through, right, and you follow them all the
and
way
they have
through.
that also because through the COVID years, and there's no decrease
Right.
from that there was an argument that COVID negatively affected the students, but if you follow the same students, that didn't
Mhm.
happen. Anyway, this is gonna end
I
up
know
being.
the last set of data that we looked at the school board level, actually, Alsted attendance area had made the highest gains. And we're doing the best proficiency.
Well, and I know people say, well, New Hampshire is so great and we're top in the country or second place or something, but you know, the bar is abysmal. Look at the national comparison because, you know, somehow the money isn't translating to results. So that's my only point.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. What else do we have, Jamie?
That was it for data sharing.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Anything else?
Very good, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. I think we're good until, we're gonna do 10:28 for 4.1 and 4.2.
Yep.
Action item number 5, that's done. That's the spreadsheet that I just talked to you guys about. And then, the only other thing that I think I put it on the drive, I'm not sure, but I'll make sure that I put it on the drive, is the rider information that we got, from the administration. I don't know if you guys have specific questions about that, and then if you do, looking at the time, do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to table it until next month?
I couldn't locate it, but it could just be me. I'm sorry.
It was
Is it
in the
pressing?
email.
It's not, I don't personally believe it's pressing. I will leave that up to
No.
the committee. Okay, so
I
then,
agree. I'm sorry.
let me make sure that we
enrollment
get it.
numbers, it would be worthwhile.
Okay, so I'll make sure it's on the drive at least, and I'm gonna make sure too that how we label the subfolders on the drive is clear, right? So that all the BA reports go into a folder for the BA and all the agendas go into an agenda folder and all the minutes go into a minutes folder, so that we can find things when we want them. We discussed adequacy aid and, articles of agreement. Steve, I just need you have one request that I started to write down, tuitioning in of high school students. What is the monetary value, and do you have?
How is it calculated?
How's the calculate?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a list of them last year. We got a list of sending schools and dollar amounts last year.
That was a strategy, wasn't it, to help with the budget? Was to get more students in?
Absolutely, because we're shrinking.
Right.
Do we have any other requests of information and or communication specifically? We've been using our communication to the school board. Anything we want to talk about or send to the school board?
I have 2 items
Sure.
that came out of last night's meeting. They said to just let you know that we're discussing it, and I'm gonna forget one of them while I sit here. Yep, give me a minute. One of them, we're discussing, cost per pupil on athletic teams. Specifically, because there's been a request that's come to the school board, it's coming back to the school board on the 28th, about, joining into a cooperative with, 2 other school districts in order to, allow for an NHIAA boys hockey team, but I think boys and girls, maybe, I don't know, I have to read it again. I just got the data, hockey team. And so that's coming up, and then the other one that they said, remember? Let me look at my agenda and I might remember. I'm supposed to tell you something else.
This, while she's looking for that, do we have anything that we want to share with the school?
The student count that's due at the beginning of October,
October 1, yeah,
I think, can we get a copy of that student count? Is
yeah,
that-
it hasn't been, we haven't received it yet,
Okay.
but yeah,
I
as soon
thought we
as I,
submitted something.
what's that?
Don't we submit something in early part of October?
Who we,
The school district submits
Yeah.
to the state.
or, yeah, Misty would, and then they scrub the data,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but we do our own as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the data hasn't been released yet, I don't think.
And regarding the FTEs, they're gonna be broken out, right? Core teacher, or just an assigned math teacher, you know, when we get like per school, Charlestown Middle School.
Similar to what we got last year, but I found the old version, which I like better, so I'm gonna share that with them.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at all my stuff and then pull out all the stuff that we like, how it's.
That makes sense.
And I always forget the terms. I'm very bad at that. My wife will tell you when I talk about teachers and everything else, but not a math teacher, but the one that helps do extra math. Those,
Para or
no,
tutor?
Tutors,
no, they're a paid full-time position,
math integration specialist.
something like that. There's someone that, yeah. They're now the new famous position, you know. that
For
everybody's-
Walpole? Yeah.
Well, for Charlestown anyway, we have, so. We have one, and then I think
You do
Walpole
too?
was complaining they didn't have one, and they thought they
Well,
did.
they had to be cut.
Yeah, so,
I have a hard time keeping track of the positions.
yeah, so, and that's what I mean, what the core teachers, the homeroom teachers versus the ones that are out running the hallways that are also FTEs. I just want a differentiation, because,
I
We're
think
getting-
it's going to be hard, because,
what do you mean?
well, because even if, and you said you have a bad thing with labeling, so I don't wanna, needle you on that, but you just said homeroom and, running the hallways. And I don't think is that still how schools and classrooms are kind of put together?
Sure, because there's two teachers, let's just say eighth grade, there's two homeroom teachers, right? Just two, so there's 20 in each class. And I know we have, what programs they have to do, but there's only two. So we don't need three. So I just want to make sure we don't have three teachers at that level, just like we did before when
Well, they'll break it down
That's
by
what
how
we're-
many kids are in each class and how many teacher to kid ratio.
and we also have these interventionists, if that's the word. One in math and one in reading. They don't have homerooms, they're just interventionists, but they're full FTEs. So they shouldn't be in that calculation, they should just be sitting outside the norm.
Well, they're gonna tell you how many
Right.
cases they deal with.
And yes, that's fine.
So I think what the point I'm making is, or that I'm trying to make, is that you have the teacher who is, your homeroom teacher, right?
Regular ed.
For,
Right.
in charge of that classroom. But then, in order to make that classroom function, there are other positions that they need in order to make that classroom function. So I think that the difference,
Paras,
paras, interventionists, whatever they are, I think that's the point I'm getting at, is that there's no longer the way of educating where you had 26 kids and you're the teacher and then the hall monitor standing outside of the room, right? Like,
no, I understand what you're saying, but my point is that there may be a possibility of reducing teachers at CMS again. Our student population is getting lower. So I want to make sure that that the numbers are adequate, that we just don't have four FTEs for 40 kids. I mean, that doesn't make sense. So just like we did before,
I hear
I
you.
want to see
I'm
those numbers again, and I understand what you're referring to.
I think
Right.
in my mind, one big question that we need to ask. 2 years in a row, we've had greater than $1 million surplus. What's causing the surplus and how do we get to minimize that surplus? Because in my mind, that equates to overtaxation of the taxpayers.
So noted.
Right, now, I understood that we tried vacancy management for 2 years, that it seemed to work a little bit, but going back 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I asked how many open positions. Spence and Lori did not know how many there were, even though it was posted on their website that there was 51 open positions.
There was not 51 open positions.
Well, it was on the website that way,
Well, I don't know what to tell you, I'm sorry.
yeah,
I
so.
don't manage a
But
lot.
the real question is, where's the 1.2 2 million or $1 million surplus coming
With
from.
51 open positions, we better have more than 1.2 million left over.
It's okay, I'm fine with whatever the number is, I think we should know as a budget committee, what makes up the 1.2 million? And is there a way of minimizing that so that we don't overtax the citizens?
It's late, so I'm not gonna even tender an opinion about what you just said.
Do we
Okay.
want to ask that question as a request for information, or are we more talking about it from a?
I mean, you should be able to give it to us, right? It shouldn't be.
There's over 4,000 budget lines, okay?
Mm.
So we're happy to run an Excel spreadsheet and you can look at where all those numbers come from. But to boil it down to say, this one FTE was budgeted at
No, I don't want-
$28,000 and we only filled it at 16,
I
that's a little
I
much.
see like 3 line
Okay.
items, maybe 4 line items at most.
So yes, what we already went
Labor.
through, which you
Labor.
missed because you weren't here, we're gonna do that again with
Okay.
the spreadsheet. We went through that and there's a
Okay.
whole thing
That's great.
about where all the surpluses were running and what sections and objects they belong to.
Right, that sheet that she had put out.
Yeah.
well, I guess a couple months ago, I looked at it, that one updated, that's all.
Sure, yeah,
I mean, I don't, never wanna go line item by line
right,
item, so
yeah.
this thing's
It's-
ridiculous.
That's too much time. That's
Yeah.
a waste of her time.
Yeah,
If we have a list of all the surplus line items and then
Mhm.
we have
Like we did.
where the budget money is moved to, which shouldn't be that many things,
Mhm.
right? If
No,
that would,
we voted
those
it.
should all match up. Right?
Yeah.
So
They should.
we should be able to answer that question.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have more information on this question after 10:20, so we should have it eventually for
Good Lord willing,
next
betcha.
meeting. And Michael, do you have the calendar up? Our next meeting is when?
It's in November,
In between the
It is.
two meetings, so.
they were 10/15, the next one's 11/17.
11/17, that I moved from 11/16.
That's the Sunday meeting, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so the 13th meeting is gone, right?
I
correct.
think so. Did
There's,
or did we not?
There's 10/28 draft budget.
but that's the school board meeting.
Right.
Was the,
But that's a workshop, so nobody's allowed in that. That's not a public.
No, it's an
meeting,
open meeting.
Is it?
Yeah, all of our meetings are
Look
open.
at the calendar.
No, because we had a few teachers that joined us last year. Steve, I don't think you've got a copy of it.
So Sunday, the 17th.
Yeah, that's our next meeting.
Okay,
not meeting on the 13th?
right,
I didn't think so.
Correct.
Okay.
Was there a reason? I'm not remembering.
somewhere I picked up that it's gonna be on the second Wednesday of the month,
Yes,
and then that's moving around a bit now.
It is after the school board meeting,
Yeah, okay,
which, when the school board meeting, when the Monday does not fall on the first of the
it
month.
doesn't move it, okay, all right, that's okay, I got it, as long as I got the right date.
better rule.
And the 26th is the articles of agreement, right?
Correct,
Yes,
Saturday the 26th.
10/26, not 11.
October,
Yeah,
yeah.
10/26. Our next meeting is 11/17, which
And that's
is
at 9 o'clock on that day.
No, that's the
That's
one
at
at
1.
1 o'clock.
1
Oh,
o'clock.
that's good, sorry.
Yes.
Give me a shot at making it.
Yes, we're gonna celebrate Jamie's wedding anniversary. Which is the day before. Which is
Day
why-
before.
Ronald?
Are we getting any budgetary numbers soon? What's the ETA on that?
We just had the date said about the budget being presented. What date is that, Michael?
Exactly.
28th. I thought.
28th is the day the school board draft budget presented to school board.
Of October?
Yep.
Yes,
Cause I know our principals' budgets are been in for weeks, so I was waiting, so.
They're still working on them, actually. I just spoke to two of them.
Oh, But two I spoke to said they were in weeks ago, so.
Well, that's funny, because I bet one of them's the same one I spoke to.
Yeah, we'll see if it's telling the truth then.
So that's October 28th is the budget hearing. They will not be doing a separate presentation to this committee. If we would like to see it, I encourage our membership to go there.
Okay,
And why is that?
But don't have a meeting.
Because they invite, I thought didn't they, isn't it on ours as a joint meeting?
We had talked about it as a joint meeting. I don't know what the calendar said.
Okay.
I don't have the calendar in front of me.
I think it's a joint meeting, but.
We had discussed it.
It's 10:28.
Yes, it says, well, there's 11:25. Default budget summary presented to the school board / budget committee workshop on budget. That's November 25th.
all right, go back to October
October
28th.
28th, school board regular meeting. Draft budget presented to school board / workshop.
Your question was why, Steve? My answer would be redundancy.
Mm.
We don't need these professionals to come and give the exact same presentation again.
I understand.
So
Just asking.
I don't know. It's my calendar.
I will go by the same, if it's not already warned as a joint budget board meeting, we'll go by the same understanding as we had before, that we can show up and we're not going to discuss it.
I think we should warn
I
it,
think we warned that one.
because you're gonna wanna have a discussion.
Yeah.
You're gonna wanna be able to ask.
So really, our next meeting should be 11:28 instead of 11:17.
10:28.
That's what I said, that's what I mentioned, not what I said. That's what I meant. 10:28
Okay.
to go be present for the draft budget, and we're gonna wanna talk about it, so I think we need to warn them.
So should I change this calendar to say school board regular meeting / budget committee? So that it's a joint meeting?
Sure.
Okay,
And I will email Misty and we'll get it warned.
okay.
I don't think that the school board's gonna have a problem with that.
We hope not. You never know.
All set, Amanda?
I'm set.
Okay, I have one more question and then we can wrap up. On the electioneering question. As chair, I desire to understand the committee and the opinions of our membership as we grow and move forward. Am I to understand this restriction correctly? That I cannot solicit Jerry's opinion after the meeting on why he did not agree with the straw poll?
Yes, that would be my opinion. Not without the body of the committee there.
I can trace your concern back to a phone call we had 2 years ago where I was out of line, and I understand I was, and I've grown since then. I believe this is a reaction to past influences unjustly, and I disagree.
So no. Although I disagree. It's not in your
I
comment.
think I'm gonna run afoul of it, so
Yeah.
I'll just tell you right now.
I can tell you that it's gonna be difficult for me.
Because of our positions, so when we
got a
bring it
select
back,
board and I've got a.
when we bring it
school-
back, we'll see if we can figure out correct wording.
Yeah.
That addresses everything, that's why I
As
think
long
we
as
need to
it's
bring
not a
it back, we
budgetary
don't
concern.
vote on it now. Okay?
Yeah.
If it's
we don't
something
vote on it now.
about select board,
But
fine.
the problem is that the select board also discusses taxation, which relates to the budget, right? Like that's, you can see where he's.
Oh, I understand, but we have to make the effort.
Well, let's bring it back and see if we can find common ground.
Yeah.
It's a vote of the committee.
And so we'll pick that up next meeting.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
necessarily
Yes.
finished business. We'll move forward and grow, as I stated.
Yeah, it's on the thing for the next meeting.
It is.
Okay, do we have are we all set?
I'm all set.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Connell motions, Amanda seconds, 8:29. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you for your time.